This LPL Pro presentation is proudly brought to you by Star Insurance.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship. That's right, we're live out of Auckland SkyCITY Sky Tower. It's Season 3, Episode 3. My name is Brendan White and I'm joined by our normal brains, Simon Chapman, Velocity News, and also a special guest tonight from Driven, New Zealand Herald's driven.co.nz. Matthew Hansen, welcome.
Thank you, nice to be here.
Yes, lovely. He has a lot of brains. He's been around the motorsport scene, the journo scene and the car scene for a very long time, so we're going to pick those brains and see a few things. Matt, favourite part of the job?
Oh, new cars. That's why I'm there, that's why I love it. Say no more. We do lots of online content, obviously, motorsport, news, reviews, pretty much everything you need to know about cars, and as well as selling a car, everything.
You get to drive a Bugatti?
Oh, maybe. I got to ask nicely.
Got to ask nicely, yeah. So you've just driven a little box truck of some sort.
Oh, yeah, the Suzuki Jimny, mate. Best car I've had this year. Absolutely. Had a McLaren, had a Toyota Supra, Suzuki Jimny. It's the one.
McLaren, right. Well, we're going to find out all about driven.co.nz a bit later on. But there is 16 races, 16 races from Australia and New Zealand. We've got 8 locations. We're international. We compete 7 rounds. 7 rounds. They're competing for $6,000. That's a lot of money. That's AUD as well. And then on the last week, we come here to SkyCITY and we compete for all our bragging rights. Simon, it's been an interesting championship so far. Let's take a quick look at last week's highlights and run us through some of the things. Sprint races. We're in sprint races and then we had a feature race, but the sprint race.
Yeah, we saw a bit of drama here at Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Unfortunately, THR Madzi, while he was leading the race, in fact, dropped out of contention after his internet connection fell out with us here at LPL Studios. Robert Murphy's Law Northway made a big overtake on Matthew Bullpluck down the inside here through the forested section. You see, just sends it down the inside. The 2 Nissan GDR drivers. Bit of hip and shoulder as Northway made his way through here. A relatively clean pass, I guess you could call it, but he eventually stormed away with the win there, going back to back at Brands Hatch Grand Prix. Then we saw all sorts of awesomeness at Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We saw Robert Northway coming into the pit lane as the circuit dried up. We saw some guys decide to stay out on the wet tyre. The margin was about 8 seconds with 2 laps to go, and he was taking 4 seconds out of lap, so you do the math. He was going to catch him by the end of the race, but then unfortunately coming down the straight there, got a little bit loose on those slick tyres in the wet and ended up off the track and unfortunately spun down the penultimate corner, so unfortunately dropped out contention.
Well, championship points is what it's all about. This is a championship title fight like in any motorsport, and here is your tournament ladder, and it is Matthew Bullpluck sitting on 722 points. Robert Northway, it was one of those pit strategies we're going to go over later. He's sitting in 2nd position at 682, and of course your favourite Simon, Simon Bishop, the international esports player, in 3rd position.
Yeah, sort of holding station there just ahead of Seeker. We saw that interesting get-up that he decides to race with there. He's in P4, just 4 points adrift. THR Madzi down in P5, Monkey Matt Smith, 228 points adrift down in P6. Prenz and Dave Stone rounding out the top 8 qualifiers. But it's Robert Murphy's Law Northway who's really been making some steps forward. Had those 2 wins in the first 2 sprint races, only worth 100 points apiece though. Really needed to get that win in the feature race, so he'll be looking to get some good results, I imagine, tonight.
Now, look, you look at this as a championship title fight. The Australians, that must be so frustrating for Kyle Madden in the first sprint race. So it's changed in the Project Cars this year. We listened to the fans and it's gone 2 sprint races. So sprint races, if you're just tuning in, they're quick fire races. You're talking 8 laps to 10 laps. And that really, rubbing's racing. It's fire, the nerves are there, the anxiety's there for the races. And then we go for a feature race. And that sort of, it's proving to be interesting this year.
Well, I guess the different dynamic between the 2 races that in the sprint race, it's just lights the flag, try and go as fast as possible. But we saw in the feature race there, and you would have seen as well, actually having the pit stops available to you, because you wouldn't bother doing that in like a, say, a 10 or a 12 lap race, would you?
Absolutely. I mean, it's given a whole new dynamic to the racing. There's a really good mid-pack of drivers in the field, and so many of them, if they just roll the dice, if they do something a little bit different, it gives them this huge window of opportunity to take on those big guys and stake some points off them.
All right, well, there was some penalties up for grab, like we normally see in New Zealand motorsport or any motorsport around the world. And that's if you, I guess, dive bomb someone or take someone out completely. The judicials upstairs, they go, and they tack some penalties on you. So let's have a look at the penalty review from last week. And that was of Sika, Simon.
Yeah, so unfortunately went wide on the final corner there, trying to make a move on Simon Bishop, bit of contact there. Actually got ahead of Simon Bishop at the finish line. The game decided, in fact, no, you're not finishing there. Got a 1:45 penalty, and that dropped him all the way down to last in the order. So unfortunately for him, was going to be finishing down the back and not getting many points, but they consulted with the players. They sort of said, you know, we can override the game settings if we want to and say, you know, this is where you actually finish. So in the end, it did end up 7th because they decided that there was no malicious intent with that move.
What's your take, Matt?
Let them race. I mean, it's so funny seeing stuff in real motorsport echoed in esports.
Yeah.
And this is just another one of those things. You've got to let them race in order to you know, create some excitement and give them those opportunities to make passes and actually, you know, show their worth.
Yeah, and we have some very skilled drivers in there. Last year's winners actually competing for a team. We'll touch on that a bit later. But before we know where we're going, let's have a look where we've been. Let's have a look at the locations that these guys are actually racing on. So right now we've been to, well, week 1 we went to Germany where it was Matthew Bullpluck. Then we went last week to the United Kingdom and it was Robert Murphy's Law. Simon, is it Konnichiwa? Ohayou gozaimasu? Japan. Did I get that right or did I get it wrong?
Well, you said good morning, but it's evening here at Let's Play Live. Yeah, konnichiwa, Brendan. That means hello in Japanese. We've got a triple header here tonight. 2 races back-to-back at Sportsland Sugo, and then the feature race at Fuji Speedway. 2 of my personal favourite circuits in the world, let alone Japan. Great tracks. It'll be interesting to see, and we're going to have a look at the car in a moment, how they drive on the circuit, because Sportsland Sugo is so narrow, whereas Fuji Speedway Grand Prix circuit, it's massive, it's huge. There's so much room to play with. So we saw last season lots of dive bomb opportunities in the Ferrari 488 at Fuji Speedway. So I reckon tonight will be an absolute barn burner.
Well, this car is something that the drivers have been raving about out on Discord, and it's something that we haven't seen in Project Cars, Simon. It's an open one.
Yeah, open wheel, a single seater. It's a 2015 Formula Renault 3.5. One thing that you'll notice tonight is that the damage has been limited just a little bit because these cars are susceptible to a bit of damage. This car tops out at about 300 kilometers an hour, accelerates from 0 to 100 in just like 3 seconds. So in terms of single-seater racing, if you're thinking Formula 1, this is sort of your second rung, a bit like a Formula 2 car. So it is blimmin' quick. It's got a big V8 in the back of it. It is so fast. Makes a great sound too that we'll hear in a moment.
Very cool. And the drivers have been talking about it too, about the ratios like fuel versus going through the race, the braking. There's a lot of effects that they haven't really seen in previous cars. So we're going to talk about that a bit more as well coming up in the show. But before we do that, let's give something away. And this is where you can win your own drive in a Huracan. That's right. Matt, this is all thanks to you, isn't it?
Not literally me, but I will take the credit if you're offering it.
That's right, guys. Driven, watch and win. It's pretty simple. You've just, Matt, what do they have to do? It's your comp.
Oh, thanks, Brendan. You're a lovely guy. Just watch the telecast. The code will come up on the corner of the screen. Go onto the site, driven.co.nz, enter it, and you can go in the draw to win that amazing prize.
Now, not only will you win the drive of the Huracan, just like Mad Mike's Huracan at Hampton Downs, but you also get to, not his car, but you also get to come here in the beautiful SKYCITY, and we're going to put you up for 2, so you can bring the partner down and you can chill out in Auckland SKYCITY. So let's see what the guys last week, it really threw a curveball in the feature race. What are the guys going to be racing tonight? Let's have a look at the track conditions.
Here it is, Sportsland Sugo. Tight little twisty circuit. I liken it to Teratong in a way. It's got that big sweeping right-hander down at the very end of the circuit, but it's super narrow. You can see there in the background of the shot. Not a heck of a lot of room to play with. These guys, when it comes to turn 1, for the race start, I think we'll be seeing a bit of carnage. It's fast in some parts, but super slow in others. The chicane is a place where you don't really want to be trying to make an overtake, but down towards the latter half of the circuit where it opens up a bit more opportunity to get the slipstream, you can really make a pass here. Just 3 degrees ambient, 4 degrees on circuit, hardly any wind. and a bit of medium cloud today. So don't think we'll be seeing any rain like we did last time. We did see it was overcast last time and the heavens opened up unexpectedly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how we fare tonight. Cool conditions, good for the tyres.
Well, the production crew love to throw curveballs at us, so let's have a look at, we don't know what's going to change, but the qualifying is already done for our 16 races, and there is no surprise there that the Australian Kyle Madzi AU takes out the pole position, followed by the newcomer Sika.
Yeah, fantastic result there for Kyle Madden, a whole second ahead of the entire field. But look at that, P3, John Baggs. He's been a dark horse up until now. He hasn't really put in many good performances, but he's finally got himself onto the second row for the grid. Simon Bishop taking P4 there, Monkey Matt Smith in P5, Robert Murphy's Law Northway. He had a lot of momentum at the last round, but he has qualified only P6. Matthew Pluck in P7, Alistair Kuipers in P8, Daniel Pinkman P9, and SYF Crimson rounds out the top 10. Damien Main disappointing down there 11, EVP in 12th. Prenz, Info Agent, and Fade completes the running order there. So a bit of disparity between first and last. Obviously, it looks like Fade didn't get a very good time in there, but 3 seconds amongst the majority of the field.
Now, look, you're looking further back. Last week's sort of front runners, Matthew Bullpuck and Robert Northway. Bit further down the field, Kyle Madden sitting there. He's got redemption. He's obviously got something to prove this week with that dropout. Now, remember, if you're tuning in at home, this is Esports. It's fine. It's for Australia and New Zealand. We're going racing right now. Sugo, there is a drop week, so you've only seen 14 drivers on it, so the guys can actually choose a week where they can't make the tournament or they can drop off. So right now we've got Kyle Madden, and we drop another one right there. So someone just dropped out, unfortunately, on there. So I'm not sure what happened there. You just saw it instantly happen, but we can go look at our grid. This is going to be interesting. The guys are really loving this Renault.
Yeah, super quick car, makes some great noise. A big V8 in the back of it, but it's a flat plane crank. So it's a bit sort of a shallower stroke in terms of how much. So it's not like a lumpy V8 that you have in some of your your LSs and your big Ford Coyotes. This thing is really high revving, super loud. So here we go. We're getting ready for the start here. Kyle Madden on pole position with the dark horse Sika alongside him. The revs rise. You can hear that V8 scream. We go racing here. 4 green lights, and it is Kyle Madden who gets the whole shot into turn 1. Watch behind though as they go 2 wide into the first corner, maybe even 3 wide further back there. Do they get through cleanly? Looks like maybe some of them dropping back a little bit. Simon Bishop has maintained P3 off the start. Robert Northway's made a great start to get up into P4 there. Bishop already hustling to get past Saka as Kyle Madden gets about 2 car lengths lead over Saka as they head through the chicane. All fairly clean at the moment. Unfortunately, we've had one or 2 guys make a mistake at the back there. It looks like Damien Main has dropped back down to P13. We see Matthew Pluck going side by side with Prenz. A bit of contact there as they come through the right-hander. But it is Kyle Madden who still leads the way here. We're halfway through lap 1 at Sportsland Sugo. Sika, big slide there, and it looks like Robert Northway's made a good start to get past Bishop. Bishop is fighting back though. They're side by side at the moment, coming through the last sector. Let's see now, yes, Simon Bishop has dropped back down. So Northway, a great start from him, up from 6th to 3rd at the end of lap 1, but it is Kyle Madden who leads the way.
Amazing start from Northway. That's 3 positions, and it's hard to pass in these open wheel cars. It's a new challenge for a lot of these drivers. I mean, a lot of them, they're not really used to this level of grip, both from the tyre and from the aero. This is and the circuit. I mean, to combine all those things in one, it's a huge task for them. So they've done really well to get through lap 1 relatively unscathed. The key is going to be how they look after these tyres and how they deal with each other when it comes to actually, passing each other and doing so cleanly.
And I suppose one thing that you've also got to consider as well, it is only 12 laps, so you can push the tyre right to its limit. That's probably about how long you get a stint out of these super soft tyres. But Robert Northway already trying to make the most of that grip and is catching up to Sika, who's already dropped back 2.5 seconds behind Kyle Madden. Kyle Madden having the privilege of a bit of clean air out in front. Now, Northway at the moment, you can see he's a little bit wide of the apex there. Bit of dirty air these guys were talking about in terms of when you follow the car in front of you, it's punching that hole in the air and you've basically got less air going over the front of the car, so you lose all that downforce. And
now this is something that the drivers talked about, that this week the aero wash is going to be a lot more prevalent than previous weeks. Explain that in this type of car versus what we saw with the R35 last week.
So the R35 and the 488 GT3, those cars, they do punch a big hole in the air, but they're less aero-dependent than a car like this. This car is specifically designed, as we see Alistair Kuiper's just losing out there. The car is a lot more aero-dependent, so you've got a lot more like wings on the front and rear, more downforce elements under the car, less so than the GT3. So in terms of disturbing the air, while it may be a smaller object, there's a lot more going on in the air, so you've got a bigger wake essentially. Imagine being on following a small boat versus a big boat. The big boat's going to make a lot more sort of wake behind it, so that's the way of thinking about it.
Great terminology there for someone who doesn't understand it, which is good. I guess another thing that they've talked about is there's no driving aids in these ones, so there's going to be potentially a lot more braking areas, acceleration areas, and the tyres in these cars versus last week are very, like Matthew, like you pointed out, sensitive to overheating compared to previous weeks.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting just to follow Northway at this stage, because he's right in that window versus second place, where he's going to be feeling the effects of the aero wash. The car's going to want to veer offline coming out of corners in particular. And when you're in this position of, you just, it shouldn't be a case of wasting your time. You've got to make that move and make it as soon as you can, especially if you're in this position where his lap times, I mean, with open air, he could easily potentially challenge our race leader.
Well, look at that. It's a 107 for Madden at the front of the field versus Northway did a 108.15, so about 3 or 4 tenths between them in terms of their outright lap pace. But that is largely due to the fact that Northway is just struggling to get past Saker at the moment. Saker did a 108.2 that last lap, so about 10th between second and third at the moment. Northway just hoping to get that slipstream and get an opportunity to pass here. As we said earlier, it's a hard track to pass on, and he's only got a few laps to do it in.
Where do you make the move? Because the circuit, it's a tale of two circuits, and as it's cliche, it's awful. But as you thought about diving there, you've got a really sort of complicated first string of corners, and he acts another look.
Well, plucked down the inside.
And he's on the recovery trail, isn't he, as well? He started pretty deep in the pack.
Yeah, I think he's just getting past. That's John Baggs at the moment. Oh, a bit of contact there down the straight. Those boys will be having their heart rate up after that one. Coming right across the nose there. Matthew Pluck does get the move done in the end. But yeah, as you were saying, where do you pass? I think you probably do it down at turn 1 because there's a bit more runoff to play with, and you can maybe give him a little bit of shoulder. You don't really want to be doing that in an open wheeler like this, but obviously with the damage turned down, you can sort of get away with it, as we saw there. Matthew Pluck and John Baggs making a bit of contact there.
Turn 1's the hard one because it's a sharp corner, but it leads into another one that the distance is awkward. It's not quite a double apex of 2 corners that you can just string together easily. So it makes it pretty difficult. And the other one that I think we see quite often with, say, Super Formula in real-time racing is coming out of turn 4 into that chicane. People often get really greedy. They stab that throttle really early, get a bit of wheel spin going, and if you can see that mistake, you can bung it up the inside.
And one of the things too, considering turn 1 and turn 2, if you do get to the inside and manage to stay side by side into turn 2, by the time you've got down the inside, the guy who's on your outside now has the inside for the next corner. So it's a really tough circuit, and it's one that really does, I guess, favour those who can really think about a move and try and get one sort of set up a few corners early and try and compromise someone's line. As we can see now, Simon Bishop trying to get one done on Northway now. So maybe Northway's made a bit of a mistake because he's dropped a couple seconds back behind Seeker. Maybe those tyres just getting a little bit too hot. Seeker's well ahead of him at the moment, so...
No, he's dropped away too far for that to be tied. That's a mistake somewhere on the circuit. Bishop's hungry. Seeker, I mean, he's going to be hard to pass if Northway can recover there, because he's got to try and make back a lot of time in this championship. He lost a few points last round after being a race winner early on in the series. Got a lot to gain.
Well, Kyle Madden out on the lead at the moment, 107.99, but a big gap in between first and second. 4 seconds, it is fluctuating, but 4 seconds there. The newcomer, Seeker, the guy we know nothing about, he sits in a clown suit or some sort of suit that he races in, and he said if he makes the final, he'll come to SKYCITY and he'll race in that. Robert Northway, 7 seconds behind. It's a dog suit, production tells me, a dog suit.
I reckon it's a fox, just quietly.
Yeah, maybe a fox, yes. We're on board with New Zealand, Simon Bishop, currently sitting in 4th position, a whole 22 seconds behind the leader. Is that right? No,
I think that was maybe just a bit of a glitch there. But
8 seconds behind the leader.
It is Kyle Madden still leading the way there at 107.8 that last time, so he's been really consistent. I saw before Northway did a 111 on that mistake lap, but he's already managed to get away from Simon Bishop. I don't think we'll be seeing Northway catch Madden in the end. There is only 5 or so laps to go here at Sportsland Sugo. It really does fly when you're in a Formula Renault 3.5. These cars are super quick, comparable to a Formula 2 car or a Super Formula car. Unfortunately, these cars don't run in the old series, which was Formula Renault 3.5 World Series. Renault decided to pack their bags and just focus on the 2-litre series for the sort of the third tier on the rank of Formula 1. But these cars, in their heyday, loud and fast. And one of the good things that actually happened when this series went down, Alex Kelsey bought one of the engines and put it in the back of a custom-made rally car.
That's the one that's ridden up Challenge. You've seen it, Leadfoot World Time Attack all over New Zealand. It's amazing.
I think it's like the MC2, the Mad Creation, I think is what he called it.
Oh,
So
we had
Northway.
pass it.
Northway's fallen down.
Yeah, he's
He's
made
got
another
a couple of
mistake.
spots now.
So it's Pluck who's got ahead of him, and Bishop as well. So Northway maybe just pushing a little bit too hard there at 112 that time. We saw he was dropping his wheels off the track occasionally, so he was hustling, trying to catch back up to Seika. But now he's the best part of 9 seconds adrift from the lead, so he's lost about 5 seconds on that last lap alone. Really loose. This Formula Renault not doing him any favours at the moment.
You can see him stressing that car. When you're in that awkward wind space of the car behind you, it's so easy to make mistakes. And that's a hammer on your confidence as well, as we see now Bishop. It looks like he's under pressure from the car behind him at the bottom of the screen.
I'm just going to fire our cameraman as we go there. There we go, a bit of a battle going on. Simon Bishop sitting in 4th position. Bit of a battle going here on Pluck. There we go. We see it. These things are, compared to something like the TRS, the one that's just been launched, these are very quick, nimble cars. What does it compare to like the New Zealand category?
In terms of your outright pace, probably a little bit slower. The Formula 3 style chassis that TRS have gone with for next season is only really limited by how much power it's got. So if you put the same power plant as these two cars on the same chassis, they'd probably be different, but you know, it's aero-wise they're relatively similar. So the Renault has got a lot more horsepower, it's got more capacity. It's a 3.5 versus a 2-litre, naturally aspirated versus turbo. So the 2-litre is a little bit slower. Top end speed, probably comparable, but it's the acceleration and the aero speed that you get into the corners that's different. But I think the good thing here at the moment for Northway is that Bishop just looks a little bit loose, and if he can catch up to Pluck, and these two battle, it'll get Northway right back into it. But it looks like Northway's maybe actually got John Baggs on his back side now. So
one thing to also point out there, Simon, is if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, you've got a red mark next to New Zealand Simon Bishop, which could mean a penalty. Sometimes it could be a 1-second penalty, sometimes it could be a 1-minute penalty, depending on what they've done. Some of these tracks actually have sensors, like last week we saw.
Oh, he's off. John Baggs free position there. That's Northway running wide. Another little creeping mistake coming in. That's number 3 for the race.
there's another unforced area. You just have to wonder what's going wrong there, whether it's just mental or tyres going off. It's just, I wouldn't say it's uncharacteristic for Northway because he's made a few of these mistakes before, unfortunately. It's cost him a lot. So he was as high as second at one point in this race, but unfortunately for Northway, he's dropped back down. So this is actually not an uncommon mistake in Super Formula. These guys get a little bit too greedy on entry there, grab a bit of curb, it just sends him a little bit wide and off the track.
It's interesting, he missed the apex at the previous corner. So I wonder if he missed the apex and thought, right, well, I've got to nail the next one, and put that pressure on himself.
Yeah, a bit of an awkward run there, and all that's doing is giving guys like Seeker and Pluck and Bishop and John Baggs a free kick at the moment. Northway, penalty next to his name as well, perhaps for exceeding track limits, down in P6 now. I suppose the only silver lining for him is that this race isn't worth as much in terms of the points. It's the feature race where he really needs to make up ground. But, you know, considering how good he was at Brands Hatch, getting those 2 race wins, you have to wonder what the deal is. Simon Bishop there slowing suddenly, so maybe he got time penalty there.
Off on the track as they came around there. Important to point out, so it's 100 points right now. If you win this race, here we go. Someone who's looking down on Simon Bishop, John Baggs. Takes a look on the inside. He's got the inside line. Is he going to close the door? Nicely done. But then this is what you guys were talking about. They get it and they've got to hook back onto a left-hander coming up.
Or maybe a bit of nose-to-tail contact there as well. Simon Bishop just falling back. Northway now able to catch up to these guys as well. So Northway will be hustling to get back up into the top 5. There are only maybe a lap and a half left in this race. Madden has just streaked away. He's got 6 seconds over Seeker. Pluck's another 4 seconds back of him. So Northway, even though he's got that penalty, he's trying to get some more positions back. We don't know yet what the punishment is for him. but just too many mistakes for him. Unfortunately, John Baggs doing a good job to get back into the top 4.
That was a prime example of just seeing an opportunity and jumping for it. You've got to do it with these cars. You can't dilly-dally. John Baggs just chucked up the inside, clean as you like, nice and easy, outbrake Bishop for turn 1, and then one little mistake from Bishop and that gap is blown out again. So I think Northway should be smelling blood here. This should be at least one position in his sights, even if those tyres have had a bit of use.
So here's your race leader, Kyle Madden. He is on the last lap here. A huge lead, 5 seconds
Almost
over
forgot he was
Seeker.
here.
Pluck has the last place on the podium. We can't even see Seeker. There he is, finally in the frame, about 2 or 3 corners behind. Still that battle rages on. It looks like maybe Bishop is going to be able to hold on to that top 5, depending on what penalties we have. So we focus at the moment on Kyle Madden. Only half a lap to go here at Sportsland Sugo. It really has flown by. This Formula 2 style race car really upping the pace. Laps only lasting about a minute here at Sportsland Sugo. 12 lap race, 12 minutes. Some great action. We've seen plenty of overtaking from this car. Maybe we should get some more single-seaters into the action, but here he is, Kyle Madden. Coming around the final corner, he's going to get the checkered flag first. Get a dominant win here to open the night here at Sportsland Sugo.
All right, race 1, Sugo for episode 3, championship 3. Seeker takes 2nd position, but it was all about this Brisbane local. It's an Australian-New Zealand championship, ladies and gentlemen. And Australia takes out the first race here at the LPL Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship. John Baggs having a good display for him. It's probably his best one yet, Simon.
Yeah, good job for him to get up into P4 in the end there. That's his best result of the season. Northway looks like maybe getting up into P5 there at the end with penalties. Bishop down in P6. Prenz picks up P7. And Monkey Matt gets 8th. So, good win there for Kyle Madden.
Well, it just shows the cream rises to the top as we see the standings at the end of that one, Simon.
Yeah, so a 2-second penalty applied there for Simon Bishop. So that's dropped him back behind Robert Northway. So Northway there didn't necessarily need to make the pass, but he gets a top 5. So Kyle Madden is your race winner with Seeker in 2nd, Matthew Pluck in 3rd, John Baggs in 4th, Robert Northway 5th, Simon Bishop in 6th, Prenz in 7th, Monkey Matt a distant 8th. Unlikely that we'll see a result like that in the second race because he's usually up the front. Alistair Kuipers in P9 and SYF Crimson rounding out your top 10 running order.
Bit further down, Damien Knoxide Main, the other Australian, sitting in 11th position. Info Agent in 12th and Fade in 13th. A couple of drop-offs, unfortunately, for the first race, but they will be back. Matt, your first taste at obviously being in the studio here at Project Cars and new week with a new car. What did you think?
It was great. It was good to see the cream rise to the top, which I guess, I mean, that's motorsport, but we saw Pluck and we saw Northway make a lot of passes. Northway lost a lot of passes, obviously, but it shows a lot that these open wheelers, you can make passes with them. It isn't just processional racing. It was great.
Simon, your take?
Yeah, well, it was echoing those sort of sentiments. Northway, I thought.
Creative of you.
Well,
as a journalist at Driven.
I wanted Northway to get a really good result. Considering what happened last season, he made way too many mistakes. And I said, if he wants to win this championship, he's got to maximise the bad days. And unfortunately, he's not done that today. So he's still got 2 more opportunities here tonight in Japan, but already he's on the back foot with that 5th place position.
Well, that was feature race 1 from Sugo in Japan, and it was interesting. Hopefully we get a bit more door to door. They don't have doors in these ones.
Wheel to wheel.
Wheel to wheel racing here at LPL. But we're going to cut to a quick advert break. Don't forget to get onto driven.co.nz and enter in that special code. We'll be back with Matthew Hansen and the second of our sprint races. Stay tuned, get yourself a drink. We'll be back in a minute.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us. They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Need a ride? Thanks to all our enlist.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Through into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish.
Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
The hunt begins. Scanning the area.
Champion double kill.
Zipline deployed. Sorry you died.
This is where it ends.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
This is just clinical.
Need a ride? Thanks to all our and Let's Play Live, we are hooking you up. Simply download the Ola app and type in the code Let's Ride to get your first ride free. T's and C's apply.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. We're live in the Auckland SkyCITY Sky Tower, and we've got a hookup for you, LPL and Ola. Hooking it up. That's very simple. If you're in Australia, LPL AU. If you're in New Zealand, LPL NZ. Use the coupon, and I'm pretty sure the first ride's on Ola, which is pretty cool. $20, you know, it's a good one. You're live at the Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship. And if you put my Ola app down, I was just checking it out. If you're just
I'll give you a lift home if you want one. You know, it's all good.
Thank you, thank you. If you're just joining us, I'm joined by Matthew Hansen from driven.co.nz and Simon from Velocity News. We are here, we're in Sugo, Japan, racing tonight. We've had one sprint race, and it was all about the Australian Kyle Madden because it's Australia versus New Zealand, even though the other one did really bad, Damien Main. So, you know, we've got new competitors in there. Because we had, I think it was 4 or 5 people come through. They automatically came through from last year's championship. 6, I'm told, in my ear from production. So 6 came through from last year's championship. The rest had to qualify online. So we've got new competitors, and I've been told that we can check out one of these new competitors right now on your screen.
Hi, I'm EVP, one of the LPL racers, and this is my gaming rig. My setup is a Logitech G27 that was originally mounted to a Vision racing rig. I've since bodged the seat onto a Next Level Racing motion platform, and I play the game in VR using an HTC Vive. Given that I'm currently P9, I can safely say that all my toys don't make me any faster, but I like being immersed in the game. The headset means I can see depth, and it makes the wheel-to-wheel racing really exciting. Being able to move my head and look around while driving is something I just can't give up anymore. The motion platform is the icing on the cake. Being able to feel the bumps in the roads and on the curbs is just huge fun. The great thing about sim racing is you don't need all this stuff to be fast. So long as the pedals don't slide along the floor, you're good to go. Anyway, thanks for checking out my rig, and I'll see you on the track.
Well, there you go. That is EVP. 16 races from Australia and New Zealand come to compete. Simon, VR, you guys are pretty good on the sim. You just cut a time on Bathurst. What was it?
2:08. Bit off the record by McLaughlin. So.
I'll correct you there. We're not good at the CA. You're just garbage.
I did like a 2:14. You did a
2:20. 2 hours 40 minutes.
2 hours 40 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. But the VR, what's it like to drive in sims?
I've never done it, but apparently it's like you're in a car. Like, I think, didn't you say you've done it and you got car sick?
I get motion sickness. I didn't want you to bring that up live on here, but thanks for that. I went to Universal and I had to get off the ride. Boo. All right, well, we are in Sugo and we're going to go for our next sprint race. But before we do that, let's check out the track conditions, Simon, on this epic little track in the Renault.
Well, in about 10 minutes' time, it's gone from being a cold, wintry day to a hot and humid summer one. 21 degrees ambient, it's humid, 27 on track, 11 km/h gusts, northerlies, light rain on the forecast here for the race, the sprint race, so I doubt we'll be seeing much in the way of tyre changes. These guys will be starting on the wets, and I think considering how many off-track excursions we saw in race 1, there'll be a bit more in race 2 tonight.
All right, so look, we saw Kyle Madden take out pole position take out the race last time. Let's make some bets. Last year we did this, and if you're just joining us, you can also, if you're on Sky TV, you can join in on the chat on Twitch. All you got to do is download the app, and you can join in the chat around the racing and LPL. Who's your money on for this race, Simon?
I want to say Northwave.
I knew you were going to say that,
but I can't. Because he was bad in that last race.
Right.
So I'm not going to go for Kyle Madden. I'm going to go for my namesake, Simon Bishop.
He's playing it safe. Matt?
He plays exactly the same game every single week. I want to go Matthew Smith because of exactly the same reason, but I'm going to go Northway because I like a good story. I like a good comeback.
Yep. And I think that's going to be my pick as well, Robert Northway. Well, let's have a look at qualifying and see how they are going. Who's the movers and shakers in this race? Well, Matthew Bull Pluck. It's definitely one we didn't choose, but Matt and I picked right. Robert Northway, I should say, in second position. Prenz, that's the unlikely third position there, Simon.
Kyle Madden drops back down to P4 there, so these wet conditions obviously not playing into his hands. Seeker gets P5, John Baggs P6. Daniel Pinkham, he disconnected in that last race, he gets 7th. Simon Bishop, no good, P8. EVP, P9, and Monkey Matt, even worse than P10.
Well, we just met EVP, so that was the person in 9th position. Monkey Matt 10, as you just said. Dave Stone. Now, if you guys are wondering about these names, Alistair Kuipers is the name, but they've got these gaming names, and it confuses the hell out of us sometimes, but Dave Stone is his gaming name. Fade is his gaming name, but Fade is actually Reese McGilvery from Te Awa Mutu. Matt, what would be your gaming name?
Oh, it'd probably be some really embarrassing Hotmail account from high school, probably.
Like a Bebo account or something?
Let's not talk about that.
Just pick a name.
I've left that time in my life behind.
So Crimson in 14th and Info Agent in 15th. Info Agent T-Man Chang, he was in there last year from Puhoi work with Info Agent. You've got a bit of business to do. You got knocked out last time. Here we go. 15 races, 1 drop race. We're going to go from the start. Pole position, Matthew Pluck. Robert Northway, there's his livery in 2nd position. We're going to Prenz, the newcomer, in 3rd position. Prenz is Todd Murray from Wellington, 4th. Kyle Madden, the Australian, sitting in there. Seeker, the person we know nothing about. He just races in a fox suit. John Baggs coming out of New Plymouth. Daniel Pinkman coming out of Auckland, a previous Le Mans winner, or Lemons I should say. And Matthew Pluck further down. We're going to go racing, ladies and gentlemen. Simon, take it away.
Matthew Pluck looks like he's got a really good start there. A bit of wheel spin further behind for Prenz. He's dropped back down to P4. Pluck does take the lead though, with Northway trying to make some headway. He gets up into P2, drops Madden down to P3. These slippery conditions, you'd hope everyone's on the wet tyre for this race here. Overcast, still hot, so not good for the tyres. Being a harder compound, you'd imagine that'll last the entirety of this race, being only 12 laps long. It is Pluck who leads the way. He's got a slim margin over Northway. Northway, after that first race drama, will be looking to make some headway and make up for his mistakes. Already he's 16th drift.
I had a great point planned, as we see a little move in the background there, that if Northway won the start of this, he was just going to streak away with no car in front of him to distract him. I think single lap pace, he's obviously got it, but he didn't get that start, did he?
No, he didn't, and he's already 7 tenths off the pace of Pluck, so Pluck, who wasn't even a contender really in that last race has already got a margin, so that clear air that we were talking about really does make an effort. But you'd imagine now Northway, he's within range of Pluck to maybe get the slipstream down the straight. It is only a short one. Won't be much opportunity, I don't think, to make a pass into turn 1 there. Already 8 tenths adrift, so not a good exit out of the final corner. That spray starting to pick up. We are 1 lap into the race. It is Pluck who leads Northway with Madden in 3rd, Brendan P4. Bags rounds out the top 5. Bishop's made up some places to get up into P6, but Monkey Matt, he's had a horror. He's down to 13th.
He'll be drawing a circle around this weekend and probably marking that one as a drop, potentially. With these sorts of momentum circuits, in the wet, they strike me as a place that would be even more challenging with those conditions in order to get the power down. So I can see this one. Brendan's pointing at the code for me. Yep, go to driven.co.nz, chuck in that code, and you could be going at the draw to drive that very car, that Lamborghini Huracan. Not Hurricane, as some say.
It's a literal translation from Spanish, isn't it?
I'm not Spanish. Don't ask me to comment on that one, Simon.
Okay.
I am surprised that you haven't brought up Japan and how much you love the place.
It's great. Love it. Have you been there?
No, have you?
Oh, yeah. Twice.
Oh, cool.
You really baited me into that one.
Great to see Prenz moving up towards the front. As we see here, Seika fighting with the similarly liveried Simon Bishop. Two guys who were closer to the front in the previous race, now nose to tail, battling mid-pack in that top 10. On board with Seika now, well in the draft, has a look at the inside. Textbook, nice and easy. And he falls straight back onto the racing line, which means that Bishop won't be able to fight back. That was clean.
How fascinating how the tables turn, considering that Seika and Bishop were up the front there, and now they're all the way in the mid-pack. And guys who weren't even in it before, Pluck's leading this race.
I was actually quite surprised because I thought Bishop and Matt Smith would be elevated this round because, I mean, they bring all of this Gran Turismo stuff to the fore, and those cars handle much closer to these, as we see a replay now of Seika up the inside of Bishop for that pass. Beautiful.
Clean, and he's already managed to get a margin over Bishop.
Extra away. Because he qualified very high for that previous race, but obviously something was awry because he fell through the field like a sack of potato.
And just remember too that this is actually the first time that these guys have driven in the wet in this car. So in qualifying it was still dry. They were doing 211s, 212s. They're now, sorry, 111s, 112s. Now these guys have got some good pace now into those tyres. Similar lap times, but further down it's a 114, 115. So the guys like Pluck and Northway have really got this car hooked up.
I reckon Northway's got something here for Pluck because that margin is stable. But I wonder whether he's deliberately trying to stay out of the aero wash of that car in front, potentially just biding his time.
We're only about a third of the way into this race.
I literally said something good about it just then. Don't bin it, Robert.
Yeah, well, look, his characteristics, I think if he pushes himself too close to Pluck, he forces himself into mistakes, you know. So as long as he's got clean air behind him, he's got no one chasing, he's got clean air in front, take the championship points. But we said this last week, didn't we, Simon, where I was like, what, would he push it and then people would just straight down the side. Look, I just entered the draw on Driven. If I win, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to win, but you actually
would you mind just clicking on a whole bunch of other stories there, just for our audience for the day?
Just to get the hits up.
Yeah, just lean on F5.
You get 2 drives, so you get actually 2 vouchers if you're on driven.co.nz, so you actually get to take the missus for a night away in Sky City, and you also get to let her drive.
All the boys.
All the boys. Saturdays for the boys, right? Monkey and Matt now on board at the moment.
Oh, wide, further up. That was a big mistake.
Well, looks like Daniel Pinkin there falling back now. Opportunity here for Monkey Matt to make the most of. Pinkin drops down to P11 now, out of the top 10.
Well, Info Agent had a drop last, they were the one of Shiwa Heat, I should say. There's a person who dropped out in the previous sprint race, so they're going to be looking for trying to get some points back on the board.
Pinkin's trying to get that move back.
Does it quite nicely.
Does it too. Allowed a bit of room there, but that's good racing. I mean, these cars you can't really shut the door like you would in a GT or a touring car.
I actually had a bit of a conversation with some of the drivers and the likes of Matthew Ball.
Oh, more contact.
Was taken out of last race. So it very much affects your racing. Even though the damage is off, you get a tap or you get taken out, that's you, you're done. The game isn't going to penalise the other people.
Oh, boy. He is struggling right now.
Looking at this battle.
He's going to make that pass stick because the next corner is a right hand. If he gets it out of, gets the grip out of that corner, he should be in for a pass. And there you go. And you see Pinkham's already driven away from this pack.
Still only 1 second between Robert Northway and Pluck up the top. Kyle Madden 3 seconds behind that. And Preen's doing very well for a newcomer. He hasn't done project cars before, sitting in five positions behind the leader. Here we go, we're up to the front of the pack. Robert Northway now. You can see there, still holding the pressure on Pluck, but I think this is wise of him. Don't, he always does this. So stay where you are, mate. Get the championship points.
If he's got the eyes on, he'll be watching every single line that Pluck takes and where he's weak on the track, where he's strong. You can see that Northway at the same time, he's pretty brave here. He's using a lot of white lines, using a lot of curbs, which normally in the wet you try and avoid that stuff because you're gonna. It makes it that much easier for you to get a slide on and lose control of these cars. This is interesting.
Right, both of these boys are actually from Christchurch, New Zealand, so not sure if they know each other competing.
When was the last time we had a Kiwi 1-2 in the series?
Well, an Australian took it out last round, unfortunately. Is it Mercedes or McLaren? I got this wrong. It was Mercedes. So Daniel Shields took it out last year, and he's actually gone on. He qualified for the Formula One out of like hundreds of thousands of people, and he's now got a job driving in a Formula One team. So let's play live. It's a great stepping stone. Esports can lead to some pretty big things, but it was an Australian last year, cough, cough. Kyle Madden, though, the only chance for the Australians at the moment, sitting in third position, right there behind Robert Northway, all of, sure that's right, 18 seconds. It now says 1 minute 06. So, quite sure what's going on there. 7 laps of 12 in the sprint race, and then we go, where are we going after this, Simon? Right, so 1 sprint race to go on Sugo, Simon, and then we go for a sprint race at
Fuji Speedway.
Fuji Speedway. You've been Fuji?
No.
No?
No, Suzuka.
Right.
If he's been to Fuji, you would have known by now, 100%. We saw him profiled prior to the kickoff of this race. That's the nice pass that he's just made there into, I think that was turn 6.
That was Simon Bishop getting past. Your bet for this race isn't doing too well there, Simon.
Yeah, but Monkey Mad isn't doing much better. He's only 8. I mean,
we chose Northway. 1 second. But we did choose a logical one that we didn't take a risk, so to speak.
We wouldn't just pick a driver based on, I don't know, their name, something they didn't even choose. Crazy. Just psychotic. So Renault, I mean, we're watching these cars racing now. Renault, probably not a household name so much in New Zealand, but obviously they are all over the place in the world of motorsport.
Yep, they're back in the Formula One World Championship. Formula Renault 2.0 is still sort of their bread and butter. They used to have the Clio series as well. We see Northway go off the road there, so Northway is throwing away any chance of winning this one after a mistake like that. 1.7 seconds back, but Renault, you've got a bit to do with them this week, haven't you, Matt?
Oh, a wee bit. That was not a setup at all.
I thought you were baiting me.
Picked up a Renault Megane RS the other day, which is a great ironic tie-up. The latest French hot hatch to take on the Honda Civic Type R, the Volkswagen Golf GTI, all those cars, and she's a bit of a weapon. Simon's already paid his bride to go for a little lift around Auckland after this, and Brennan, the offer's out there as well for you if you want. Of course.
Now, out of all of these cars that you've driven, I know I think it was the Honda Civic was one of your favourites. What has been your favourite perk of this car? The Jimny. It's a cool car.
I'm going to take those words and I'm going to dive into them with a knife and fork, and I'm going to eat them now. Probably favourite car. Everyone has their little, idiosyncrasies and their little things that they like. I love a V8. That's just me at the moment.
So you've had the Mustang, haven't you?
I had the Mustang. The other day I had the Chevy Camaro ZL1, which has just landed in New Zealand. First time that car's been offered here in right-hand drive, as we look at Seika, having a look at Bags, doing a great job. Really close, coming out of the chicane. Had the ZL1, but weirdly enough, probably the 2 V8s that I've liked the most. One was the Lexus GSF of all cars, and the other was the last Holden Club Sport. Last of the one. And you see Seika's having a look on the outside. This is going to be difficult on heading into a right-hander, but he might get it done before the corner. No.
Oh, Bags closes the door.
Oh, contact.
Now, if damage was on, that would be potentially
Game
race
over.
done for both of them, but
Yeah.
because it's been scaled back a little bit, these guys are allowed to continue to race, which is what we all want to see at the end of the day. Sega's going to fight on here, I reckon.
So while this little battle happens, did you say you picked up a Renault Megane?
Yes.
Right, so, and you were name dropping before, and that's a lot of the cars that we see in this new TCR series.
Absolutely, yeah. Because there's this whole point of how do you capture the young people. Well, most of the young people who are into new cars now, drifting.
Yeah, D1NT.
No Renaults and drifting, though.
No Renault.
Exactly.
No.
There's Mustangs.
LS Renault rear-wheel drive. Let's make it happen. Put one of those V12 Toyota engines.
Well, they
see
do
what
have the parity in the TCR series, though, right? So,
yes.
But it's a grouse-looking car.
Absolutely. You know, the French design, beautiful looking cars. The road car, I reckon, looked better than the race car as well. That thing downstairs is bright orange. Cannot miss it a mile away.
Have you ever had a misdemeanor with any of these test cars?
Several speeding tickets, right?
No, actually only with personal cars.
The Waterview tunnels, eh?
Waterview tunnels, no. No, you do get little things that are in second gear and you never get in trouble. No. We try to, for now, we've kept it pretty clean, but the whole industry is full of amazing stories. Probably the most recent one that I actually heard, and I'm allowed to repeat it because it's not from New Zealand. The Chris Harris podcast, they talked about a Peugeot event a few years ago. They tracked Damien May, he's in the middle of the battle. He went to a Peugeot GTI hot hatch event a few years ago, had a massive off, thought that he'd gotten out of it unscathed. The car looked clean, having jumped over something like a 6-foot drop at a racetrack. Went to return it at the end of the day. He thought the car was mint, and as he handed it back, that's a pass. Made up the inside of the final corner. As he handed it back at the end of the day, he found that the roof had a giant fold in it.
Oh. Does he own it?
No, he probably does now though.
I have heard stories of the hot lap experiences in the Hurricanes and the Lamborghinis out at Hampton Downs. I don't think Simon's shaking his head at me that I'm not allowed to mention that on here, but one day we might have a guest that was driving one of those.
There is a race unfolding, Brendan. There is a race. John...
lap 11, it's the last lap. Lap 11 of 12. Sika having a great little battle here with John Baggs. They've been going at it for the last 3 to 4 laps here. Pluck's still out front, but he's only still 1 second. Robert Northway's done a textbook chase here. He's picked up the championship points. He hasn't closed that gap, but this little battle.
Not many more passing opportunities left in the lap if he wants to do something wild.
He's got the slipstream though here. Going on to the last lap for Sika.
It's all on at turn
John
1.
Baggs. Send it, mate.
This is the big opportunity here. If it's not here at turn 1, it's at the end of the straight at the other end of the circuit. Defensive stuff from John Baggs. Contact mid-corner.
Tried to go around the outside there, but it didn't quite work there for Sika. Baggs resilient in defence, but goes a little bit wide. Apex there, that's going to open up the door to Sika. Tries to send it down the inside, but Baggs gradually closes the door. Can't make him move into the chicane. Don't even bother, but we are going to focus on Matthew Pluck if the cameraman can get his eggs in the basket.
There's no eggs involved with Cameron.
You're right, lap 12 of 12 here at Sugo.
Not counting the people behind the camera, obviously.
That's a good one. All right, Pluck.
You can take it away, Brendan.
Pluck does the business. Delivers the goods on lap 12. Just not there. Lap 12 is Robert Northway bins it down the front straight. They try to do this every time, traction control off. So Matthew Bullpluck takes it out. The Christchurch locals first and second. The Australian in third position. Kyle Madden a whole 5 seconds behind the leader, followed by Prenz, a newcomer. Prenz, Todd Murray from Wellington. He's come up and he's showing things. Now we can't
He got it done, but where's John Baggs?
Sika is.
See you later, John Baggs. He's down in P6 and 3 seconds adrift by the looks of things. So EVP's going to cross the line 7th. My man, Summer Bishop, only P8.
Dude, he's not your man. He didn't deliver for you.
He didn't, no. I'm rescinding all sponsorship funding now.
Quiet race from Bishop, not his most excellent drive.
Monkey Matt even quieter though in P10. Alistair Kuipers, P11.
Info agent unfortunately dropping out last round, 38 seconds behind the leader. Definitely not what they would want, but T-Man Shang from Puihoi will be trying for that. But there you go. there is your official results. A couple of penalties on your right-hand side of the screen. Kyle Madden. Looks like he gets a little penalty. Matthew Ballpluck in first. Robert Murphy's Northway in second.
Kyle Madden completes the podium there.
You're shaking your head, Simon.
There's no penalties. That's just your connection.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the strength of their internet connection, Brendan.
And you can see there, Damien Main's got a pretty bad connection at the moment. That's why he's 42 seconds adrift, I think. So, Prens picks up P4, Seeker P5, John Bagsby 6. EVP, Simon Bishop, Damien Main, and Monkey Matt round out your top 10 finishing order. A few more guys actually retiring from this race, including Daniel Pinkham and Fade. Back to you, Brendan, in the studio.
Back to Brendan. All right, sprint race 2. Next race, we do go racing for the feature race, which is Fuji GP. That one was some good battles a bit further low down in the field, the Seeker battle. Any highlights for you?
Well, Northway was going to do a really good job, and then he went off the track again.
So do you reckon that 1 second he could have had it?
I reckon if he hadn't have put it off, I reckon he would have got the position. Right. So he was gearing up for it. He was setting up for a last lap sort of dash, but just blew it with about 5 laps to go. So,
Matt, second sprint race for you. Any thoughts?
I mean, we had 2 great battles there right at the end. A lot of real close quarters stuff, which in the wet, really exciting to see. And great to see Northway actually get those points. I mean, that's going to be, he'll remember that probably half an hour away from now and think, thank goodness I at least got some points out of this one.
Yeah, played it safe. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are competing for $6,000 in the bragging rights of the Australia and New Zealand Championship, brought to you by LPR Star Insurance here live in Sky City, Sky Tower. We will be back after the break for the feature race, so stay tuned, get yourself a drink, and we will be back in a minute.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone was either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Over into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish. Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
The hunt begins. Scanning the area.
Champion double kill.
Zipline deployed. Sorry you died.
This is where it ends.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
But what a shot! Give it up for our champion, This is just clinical.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars 2. It's Ola, that's right. Get yourself a free ride up to 20 bucks. LPL AU if you're in Australia, LPL NZ if you're in New Zealand. I've used it. It is nice and cheap, and they're very nice people in those cars. They took me home when I was a bit inebriated. So you are tuning in to the Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars 2 ANZ Championship.
Inside voices and outside voices, Brendan,
Yes.
okay?
This is Matthew Hanson. He's joined from driven.co.nz and Simon Chapman from Velocity News. 2 races down, sprint races. You liking the format?
It's great, and I mean, those races were awesome. The weather, the mixing it up, that's been awesome. But I like these sprint races. The sprint races are, you know, that element of danger, that element of strategy. Yeah,
Quick fire.
Let's dive into that.
Lovely. Simon, feeling the same?
Yeah, it's been good, but I'm really looking forward to this feature race because, you know, these guys were talking about the tyres and fuel even, and whether or not these guys are actually going to be able to make it to the finish of the race. So we don't know. We haven't seen that before because generally with the GT3 cars, they've got such big fuel tanks, you don't have to worry about it. But these cars are designed for sprint races that only last a few laps.
Well, it's something that they said once the fuel goes down, the braking gets the difference in braking speeds on the markers. A lot of the tyre wear goes down as the fuel and the weight comes down in this car as well. So let's look at this feature race track conditions. Simon, where are we going? Take us away and tell us a bit about this track.
Fuji Speedway. This is the Tilkified version of it, modified a few decades ago for Formula One. They used to race here about 30 odd years ago, and then they had a 15-year gap, and then they went back there with Formula One, and now we're anticipating another 15-year gap. We might go back to Formula One racing at Fuji Speedway in maybe like 2029 or something, but it's a great track. It's a shame it doesn't get used on the Formula One calendar. Suzuki gets that privilege, but it is a gorgeous track, super wide, super fast, super flowing, and lots of opportunities for overtaking.
Now, slipstreams, this is a long front straight. Does this come into play with these cars, or is it really just in the touring cars? No, it does. Oh, right.
Think about in terms of when you do a pass on a straight, generally you get the pass done, and that's it. But what can happen is this straight is so long, you can do the pass, and then they can slipstream you again and try and pass you back. So it is massive. It makes up just about half the circuit.
Right, well, as we see in every feature race here at LPL, they get a bit of time for qualifying. You don't actually see it in the first 2 sprint races, but 7 minutes, 47 seconds in. The first lap's very much about putting the heat in the tyres, getting your groove down, and then doing a flying lap, and definitely keeping some clean air. Now, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, who's out on track at the moment versus who's got the clean air. So what are some of the things that we're going to be looking at here, Matt, for qualifying?
Well, you talk about clean air, but there's also merit in actually having rivals reasonably close to you. That draft on the front straight, I can definitely imagine someone like Madsy, someone like Northway, taking advantage of another car, getting right up behind them, using that draft to gain a few more precious tenths over the course of their lap for sure. So it's a tough thing to blend, but that's what makes that's what separates the good drivers from the great drivers.
Wow. Simon, any sort of takes on qualifying what would look in a track like Fuji?
You can take the approach of trying to get the slipstream down the straight, but you've also got to think about those really long radius corners. If you're in the dirty air for too long, your tyres are going to wear out really quick. So you're only realistically going to get a lap or 2 on those tyres before they wear out. But you know, for these guys, they do have the option to just quickly go back to the pit lane, get a new set of tyres on, get out there and go again. So probably not too much of an issue. The amount of margin that you could make up on the slipstream, not sure if it's enough to warrant it. You might just want the clear air and the focus as we go on board here with Kyle Madden. It is a super fast and flying circuit, as you can see. Mount Fuji in the background there. This place is overtaking heaven in a single-seater.
And most of that's done down to that twisty element of the circuit, that sort of last sector, isn't it? Where it kind of folds into itself a few times and you get a few sort of curious double apexes, big wide sections that narrow up and then get wide again.
Well, there are different lines that you can take as well. Like, you watch Super Formula and you watch Formula One, there are so many effective lines that you can take that are so fast down here. You know, you can go wide out there or you can go really shallow, and that can sort of narrow up the exit but slow you down for the next corner, but could obviously open up opportunities to overtake. So there are so many different ways that you can get around the circuit that will benefit you in other parts. So you can get a slow exit or a fast exit and try and get those overtakes done early.
I find it funny, as Robert Northway is actually qualifying at the moment, he also sends me a message and he says that the reason he sat in second position was the way the aero wash was working. It was just so hard to pass in the rain that he just wanted to play it safe. So very good tactical points there for Robert Northway picking up those championship points. But also he said, yep, the two locals, Matthew Bullpluck and Robert Northway, they've actually battled for several different championship titles in Christchurch, so they know each other, because I did mention that in the previous race. Speaking of the Devil, right now as he qualifies and messages me at the same time, Kyle Madden now picks up a 1:24, so he goes to P1. Robert, stop talking to me on the phone and do some qualifying laps there as he does. We are live here on Sky TV. If you're just tuning in, you can join the chat, which Simon is on Twitch. If you don't know what Twitch is, it's a gamers chat. You just download it on the App Store or the Android Store and search LPL and you can chat in the chat room at the moment. Any interesting comments coming in the chat room, Simon?
None.
Alright, well that was a good sales pitch. Let's Play Live if you wanted to check that out as we're coming down the front straight from Robert Northway. Big on Advan in Japan. The tyres, goes into the pits. Is that probably to reset?
Yeah, probably bolt on a fresh set of slicks. Some soft tyres, obviously, for these guys, because they're complaining about how quickly they're going off. See, Seeker get really loose through there. These cars have got a lot of downforce to play with, so a lot of fun around the circuit like this.
So are we going to see pit stops in this feature race? They can get to the end, or?
Hard to say, because, you know, even watching...
Last week was cool.
Yeah, watching those sprint races, but we had the element of rain, right? Whereas this is purely just down to tyre wear. I don't know whether the tyres are going to go off so much that you need to come into the pit lane. You imagine, so let's have a look. Okay, we're watching Seeker now, coming up to pit lane entry. See, one of the cars are actually coming in now. They have to slow right down, and then from about here, keep going, keep going, keep going.
I don't think I can hear you.
Keep going, keep going. Just about now, you're just about exiting pit lane. You're doing that at about an eighth of the speed of what the racing pace is. So you're going at about maybe 30 or 40 kilometres. You've got to take the tyres off, put new tyres back on, maybe put some fuel in as well if you absolutely need to. The amount of time that you're probably going to lose in the pit lane is probably the best part of 30 seconds. Right. So I don't think it's really worth it.
So I talk a bit with Simon Bishop, and he's not a huge fan of his own skills of saving fuel and tyre. It's sort of one of his weak things with this kind of racing. But if you're in the mid-pack, if you're in that sort of monkey mat territory, and you rate yourself and your ability to save tyre, why not? Why not give it a crack? Why not try and do this thing on one set of tyres?
That is exactly what was Kyle Madden last week. Don't quote me. Whoever won the race last week stayed out, didn't change tyres. Robert Northway changed tyres. Yep. And that was the detrimental effect. They stayed out and they won the race. So it was well played, and hopefully we see some of those, strategies coming out in tonight's feature race here. It is 200 championship points up for grabs. The Australian Kyle Madden sitting on a 124.297. However, that is just followed very, very closely by Matthew Bullpluck from Christchurch local. Preens in the pits at the moment. Todd Murray from Wellington, the newcomer, doing pretty well. Also gets a mark next to his name, EVP, who we saw earlier on and met. Has a bit of a oopsie-daisy. That is Everard Petrie out of Christchurch.
That'll be a little bit of an awkward one when you shunt on the motion rig, send you flying around the room.
You should probably take physics against Simon. That's really how it works. But better to make that mistake in qualifying than to do it in the race. Test the limits of the car and the tyre. Especially coming out of those slow corners. Everyone looks at the circuit and thinks about the high speed stuff and the way you've got to link it all together, but quite often it's the slow corners where all the real important stuff, the passing moves, the mistakes, where that all happens.
It's almost like driving a go-kart, isn't it? You're trying to maintain as much momentum throughout the corner and not trying to light up the tyres and getting the thing bogged down.
Have they let you back in a go-kart yet, Simon?
Do you want to talk about your go-karting experiences, Matt?
Let's get going.
Something that the drivers actually brought up in the driver forum today about someone's racing with a broken leg. So a few of them actually got injuries, and then they brought up about how they got injuries last year from Simon punting them at the go-karts.
It wasn't on purpose. It was a racing incident.
Yeah.
How did he get the broken leg? Did he have a big shunt in VR?
All right, guys. Well, if you want to have a go-karting, Hampton Downs has obviously got the Hurricane Special going on. You've just got to get into Driven and enter speed. You've got an opportunity to win 2 drives. So you can actually win a drive for yourself and a drive for your partner, or a drive for the boys if you're going out on a Saturday, and you get 2 nights at SkyCITY as well. A night at SkyCITY. And Hampton Guns has actually got the epic go-karts out there as well. They've got all sorts of different things you can drive. Some of the things you have driven, they've got hot lap cars you can drive, is that right?
Go-karts.
Go-karts, yes, we know you suck at go-karting.
I beat you.
That's because you pushed me off the track.
You reckon?
I was leading until you pushed me off the
You
track.
were lucky that all your ribs are still intact, Brendan, after racing and sharing the track with such a dangerous man.
He is a dangerous man. You can check out all his danger and velocity news.
I write about other people's danger.
Keeping up with the Kiwis there, the Kiwis racing this weekend, Simon?
Yeah, funnily enough, Nick Cassidy, who won at this circuit earlier this season, he's racing in round 5 of his Super Formula, which is sort of like Japan's equivalent of Formula Renault.
Is that not the Formula E series, is it?
No.
It
Super Formula is like...
Evans?
Mitch Evans races in Formula E and Brendan Hartley soon to be, but Super Formula is
EVP, really bad.
second fastest only to Formula 1, so it's like pretty close to Formula 1 speeds. I think they're only about 4 or 5 seconds off the pace of the Formula 1 times around Suzuka, so not that much. Scott Dixon's obviously racing in IndyCar this weekend at Pocono, the Tricky Triangle.
Did you say IndyCar?
Yeah.
So see, this is something he's been quite vocal about, isn't it? He's wanting to go to the States. Is it IndyCar he's wanted, or is it NASCAR he's wanting to drive in?
Are you talking about Nick?
No, I'm talking about someone else.
Scott.
Yes.
Scott McLaughlin.
Yes.
Scott McLaughlin wants to do NASCAR.
Right.
Yeah, he's real keen to get into that
and
door.
His team obviously...
Via Team Penske,
yes.
Yep. DJR Team Penske, obviously an alliance there. I think Roger Penske owns like a 51% share in the team. He's openly said that there's an opportunity there for Scott if he wants to go over to America and race NASCAR. I don't think we'll necessarily see NASCAR, but maybe one of the feeder series.
All right, talking about leaders and champions, Kyle Madden, he is in the pits at the moment, sits on a 1:24.297, followed by Matthew Bullpluck. These are your preliminary results. As we get the qualifying session over, we'll bring up the board. Another one, okay, there we go. Robert Northway, 3rd position. So this is going to be an interesting grid. The movers and shakers of the championship right now are all up the top there. Sika sitting in 4th position. Sika is obviously from Christchurch. That's all we know, that he's a Fox. Pran's sitting in 5th position, followed by John Baggs. He had a pretty good little battle going on in the previous sprint race. Your man, New Zealand Simon Bishop, unfortunately, he's not doing too well from Dunedin.
Yeah, needs to pick up the pace. He's 2 seconds off there, unfortunately, down there in P7. Damien Main, the Aussie man, in P8 there, another 2 seconds behind. Alistair Kuipers in P9 and Monkey Matt rounds out the top 10. SYF Crimson, EVP, Daniel Pinkham, Info Agent, and Fade round out the field.
All right, well, we are going to go racing here at Fuji Speedway. Simon, I guess I'll let you do the honours. One thing that we before we do just go through the cars, Hayden Patton's just launched a book too, so make sure you guys check that out.
I think that book might need a few more chapters.
Driven. Well, have you read it already?
No, I think there's more to come. I think there's more to come in that story.
I like the way you did that. All right, here we go. We are looking.
What's that book called again?
Driven.
Just making sure.
Is there some copyright issues around that?
Yeah, let's go there. NZ might be on the phone somewhere. But you did say that he's been doing a bit of PR around the book and so forth. Is he racing this weekend as well?
No, he was supposed to be racing at Rally Finland, obviously, but had that rather large shunt. But we are about to get underway here. Kyle Madden is your man on pole position with Matthew Bullpluck alongside him. We are standing by, getting ready for the race start here. The red lights will go on. Here we go. The revs rise. And we're racing here at Fuji Speedway for the 23-lap feature race here. Who's going to get the whole shot into turn 1? It looks like Kyle Madden's got a good start. He takes the defensive line into turn 1. Oh, big dive down the inside. He's taken him out. Oh, no. Kyle Madden's gone around. Your pole position sitter has fallen from 1st all the way down to 14th. He gets another shunt there from EVP. He will be absolutely livid after that. I think that was maybe Northway or Saker just sending it down the inside.
It's 3. Oh, there's
more
another
drama.
shot.
Bishop.
Oh, it takes out another driver. Is it going to take out?
Oh, it's madness at the moment.
Wow.
Northway, it looked like Northway was leading coming out of turn 1. I'm not sure who's got it at the moment. There's Matthew Pluck on screen now. Chaos though, first lap.
Yeah, that was craziness. I couldn't quite pick up.
P1.
Couldn't quite pick up who that was down the inside. I don't think it's either Saker or Northway who actually made the lunge. Looked like maybe a green liveried car went down the inside, just clipped the back of Kyle Madden. We look to find out, I think think that might have been info agent. I'm just waiting to find out.
I always get in trouble when I ask this, but I'm hoping that production can maybe give us a replay of what went down there. He's going to potentially tell me off, but that's okay because we love our production man, Daniel. Sika on the lead, Northway in second. What went on? Are we going to have to wait till next week's highlights to find that out? Monkey Matt in 4th position, Crimson in 5th position. But Kyle Madden, the Australian, is going to be absolutely livid at that start. He had a beautiful start. He got the jump on everybody.
Yeah, this is just throwing a complete spanner in the works now. Prenz and Madden, 12th and 13th. We're going to get a replay here in a moment. Bishop is down 11th now. Watch to the far left-hand side of your screen. The green and white Jaguar-looking car just sends it down the inside from about 4th on the road. And there you have it. I believe...
Was that Pluck?
That's Prenz.
I think that's Prenz.
Yep.
And Kyle Madden,
Todd Murray.
Salt to the wound, just gets shunted not twice, but 3 times. So, unfortunately, bit of drama there on the start there for Kyle Madden. We'll hopefully find out if there are some penalties applied. I can't imagine he will be too happy after that incident. The guy who has benefited the most from this is Sika, who currently leads with Pluck in 2nd and Northway in 3rd.
So the big loser in all of this, predictably, is Madsy. I mean, he's had such a great all-round night tonight, that dominant win in race 1. It was looking to be a big points event, but now all his rivals, 1st, 2nd and 3rd on the road right now.
So margin now just 1.6 between Sika and Pluck. Northway not far behind Pluck as well. The margin's all around the same, 1.7 seconds at the moment. We'll try and get the slipstream down the straight.
Is he close enough?
Lap 3 here at Fuji Speedway. Monkey Matt's done a good job to get up into P4 there with S-Wave Crimson. Probably the biggest benefactor. He's managed to get up into P5.
Well, look, I think there's definitely, here's your race leader, Sika, the Christchurch person, the unknown fox, as we would say. There's definitely a battle that can be had in between 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but it's all going to come down to the tyre wear, Simon, you know, and how that's going to be judged over the next 21 laps. Right, there we go. That was Prenz. A quick look at Prenz right now. Was he the person who caused it? There is a penalty on the left-hand side for fade, which is Reese McGilvory from Tiamudu. So was it fade? There we go. No, it was Prenz. There we go. That's the colour of the car, right? All right.
You got that one, Brendan.
Yay!
There are some duplicates, though. I was wondering maybe whether it was info agent or not, but it was hard to tell in that replay where they all ended up.
Sorry, Simon. These guys are... Oh, there you go.
Prenz again.
Oh, that one was a hard one. 3 wide coming out of the corner and Prenz being in the middle there. Not a lot he can do.
Yeah, Fade getting spun out there, so he's 2nd to last now.
15 races. 1 is a drop week this week. That's why you're not seeing all 16 EVP. We met him earlier on from Christchurch, sitting in last. Fade, followed by Pinkham. Not really where he'd want to be sitting. Definitely not where Kyle Madden wants to be sitting. The Brisbane local. Prenz in 11th position. Info agent is doing a bit better. Simon Bishop doing worse than what he'd be wanting to. Alistair Kuipers in 8th position. Damien Lane, the other Australian, in 7th position. We're further up the track. John Baggs, he's doing pretty good, and so is Crimson as we get a tight-knit field coming into the first corner now.
Oh, there has been a spin.
Oh no, Madden's caught out again, more drama for Madden. He's been spun out for about the 2nd time in this race. I don't know how much contact that guy's had, but he's now 12th. He was doing a good job trying to make some positions back up. He's now stuck behind Binkham and Bishop. I think it was maybe Bishop there who got spun out. Prenz is now into P9. All sorts of drama there. I'm sure the Discord will be blowing up in no time. Boys wanting penalties handed out.
Turn 1 here, it's an interesting corner, isn't it? Because you've got 2 really big brake applications on this track. This is one of them, as we see Prenz sizing up a move on Pinkham. But the other one's turn 1. You throw your car in there, but the road kind of fades away on exit. It starts narrow, but then it goes really wide on exit. It invites people to make that dive. But it's symptom of that kind of road, you get a lot of these sorts of shunts.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's so much room to play with, but it's obviously so tight and narrow. Everyone's trying to find that apex, and ultimately you just have guys banging wheels. We talked about it at the start of the night. that if there was ever going to be a shunt, it was probably going to be turn 1, lap 1 at Fuji Speedway, and sure enough, we got it. Friends just sending it down the inside into turn 1. So this is the downhill right-hander. Certainly narrows up on exit there, but it was drama right at the start. So we're going to get a quick replay here, the last dose of drama. So Kyle Madden, he thinks he's okay, goes a little bit wide, nah, sure enough, gets clipped by, I think that might have been Info Agent. Yep, just a little bit of drama for him. Bishop takes advantage of it and gets up into P10, so...
This is on for P1. This looks like it's probably the closest battle on track right now, and Pluck has been one of the star performers today in these cars. He's up against Seika, the mysterious, mythical Seika. Fox dog. What does the fox say, Simon?
Not a lot, because he's focusing on the race at the moment. Currently leading here, but not by much. There is only 4 tenths between them now. Seika, can he hold on? Matthew Pluck.
He's real close.
He is looking to get that slipstream now. Seika trying to break it on the straight here. Pluck definitely reeling that gap in if it is only just the slightest amount. Can he make a move down at turn 1 here? That margin is getting closer and closer. Pluck shows the nose. Backs out of it.
You can see though that Seika's feeling it. He's squaring off his line coming out of corners and into corners. He's not using all the track, because obviously if you're using all the track, you're leaving a bigger hole up the inside for your rival to dive through. And Pluck, I mean, he's played this heaps of times. He'll be picking up all of these cues, but it's probably all still going to wind up at turn 1. That is the move.
Sorry, I'm just cracking up because I'm reading Seika's entry form into the series, and it says, "What do you do for a job? Eat, sleep, dig holes, and repeat." What other sim activities do you do? Catching sticks. It's tragic. He's a dog. What do you expect? Matthew Bull Pluck having the challenge here. All of 1 second. Robert Northway just cruising behind them. He's going to be picking up great championship points.
Favourite car.
Look, here we go. Last corner, he just throws it up the inside. All the hype around turn 1, and he throws it at the final corner. But doing that, he compromises himself for the straight. Side by side. Pluck has the inside line, and that should give him the advantage when they arrive at turn 1. But the speed is with Seika.
Can you side draft in the single-seater?
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Pluck's got the move. I think that's him. He locks the inside front. He's done that a few times now.
Narrow on exit as well, so that blocks an opportunity for an up and under, but it looks like Seika's got a good exit there.
This is great racing. Aero Wash what? They're right next to each other. And this has gone for a couple of laps now.
So there we go. Pluck's managed to get the position now. I think Seika just dropping back a few car lengths there, knowing that he maybe just doesn't quite have the speed. Northway has managed to bring that margin down to 1.9 seconds while we were talking, so he was doing mid 127s while the leaders were doing high 26s and low 27s. He's managed to bring that margin down to 1.8 seconds.
He'll be distraught that they've ceased fighting, but potentially, I mean, the next question now is who comes into pit? When do you come in pit?
Do you pit?
If you're Northway, do you risk it and you come in earlier than them so that you can undercut? You know, what's the go here?
Well, Kyle Madden would probably be the one to watch on the pit stop scene. He has picked a couple of positions up, but he's sitting in 11th position, so if he wanted fresh tyres and sort of an advantage over the pack to try to make some more points up, that would be the person to watch to see if they do pit as they come down the left-hand side, the front stroke. On board with Robert Murphy's Law Northway. If you're wondering what Murphy's Law is, it's the gamer's name, ladies and gentlemen. You'll find out more about them on Let's Play Live.
So before, Simon, you were talking about this track being tiltified. What do you mean by that?
So the circuit was basically designed initially to be a bit like a hybrid of a NASCAR track and a European fast F1. So there's actually a high bank turn 1 that you can't see anymore behind all the bollards there. We'll just watch this battle now. Kyle Madden trying to make the most of the battle ahead of him. Simon Bishop and Damien Main going side by side through turn 1. Kyle Madden, gets really loose there though. He's really hanging that tail out, trying to make up some more positions. He is still stuck down in 11th at the moment after that second shunt down at turn 1. But we saw some big changes to the circuit, basically cut it in half. You know, there's those tight, that tight and twisty section is the main bit that we talk about when we talk about the modifications to the tiltifying, I guess you could call it, with the low speed hairpin and the chicane added, and Simon Bishop has just decided to get out of the battle, so he's dropped right back behind Madden and Kuipers. Madden is going to try and get around Kuipers as well. This isn't a place you normally try and do it, around the outside. Can he do it? Felipe Massa, Robert Kubica, eat your heart out, gets it done. Fantastic pass there by Kyle Madden to get back inside the top 9 positions. He will have Damien Main in his sights soon enough. But a great move there, as we see. Kuipers go back down the inside. Oh, a bit of a nudge there. Kyle Madden will be absolutely livid. He'll have the red mist and everything, and he sends it back down the inside. Super Formula style, but he should get the switch back. What can he do? Gets the slipstream now down the straight. I imagine it'll be an easy position to get back with such an aero advantage. Might even close the door on him. I'm sure he's not very happy after those rubbings, racings moments down through the tight and twisty bits.
It's races that like these that underline the mark of a champion, and it'll be interesting to see whether Madsy can make up the difference.
I think Simon Bishop might have given him a nudge there into turn 1. These guys are still side by side. Kuipers not giving it up easy for the pole position sitter. Kyle Madden maybe spending those tyres a little bit too early in this race after all that drama down at the start. It is only lap 9 here of 23, so there's plenty more laps left in this. I'm surprised that Bishop backed off so much on the lap before, but he's back into the action now in 11th.
Part of me wonders whether he was just giving him a free kick because he knows that there's a championship on the line for the guy and he knows he's in the way, but Kuipers wasn't making it easy, not at all. And they're going to continue battling behind Madsy. I think he's gapped these boys. But Bishop, left, right, everything he can. That's some risky moves for someone who's been taken out twice in a race. You would have thought you'd be trying to remove the target from the side of your car.
Well, it's good now that Kyle Madden's got clear of Bishop and Kuipers because he's managed to establish a few car lengths lead over them. You'll have Damien Main, the Aussie, in 8th there, hopefully on his nose soon. Plenty of laps left in this one, 14 to go here at Fuji Speedway. It is Pluck who leads the way, 2 seconds ahead of Seeker with Northway in 3rd.
So we're getting tenuously close to that sort of that halfway mark with this race. If everyone stays out through that phase of the race, can we assume that everyone's just going to try and do this on no stops?
Well, it's funny you should say that because I was going to reference the point whether or not the tyres are going off, but Pluck's actually just done a 1:25.8, which is the fastest lap of the race. So the tyres are certainly lasting the distance at the moment. Maybe it was a bit of a ruse from Robert Northway, just maybe suggesting to guys, hey, maybe you should pit and just put them in an awkward position for the race there. Prenz just holding on ahead of John Baggs, who's got a penalty against his name. Prenz holding on to 6th at the moment. Robert Northway now challenging Seeker for 2nd. So this will be crucial for Northway in his championship chase now that Madsy is down in P9. Is it Madsy who currently leads the championship? I believe it's a 40-point gap between him and Northway coming into this round.
Northway won't be wanting to think about that, but I mean he's got to. This is the race where he can try to make up a bit of time, a bit of point differential, and he's right up in Seeker's draft. Is he close enough to make a big dive? He would have seen Pluck try to make this move a few laps ago.
Goes for it under the brakes.
Oh, clean.
Does it very nicely.
Great pass.
Now, Robert Northway actually has quite a few different world records around the globe in esports racing, so he's got a lot of, credibility on that versus the newcomer Seeker, but Seeker's still not dropping back here. 3 seconds difference between them and the leader, but then a massive gap between them and Monkey Mad as Seeker gets a bit loose behind Robert Northway. 11 seconds gap, so it's definitely the battle for 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Here we go, the replay. Nicely done. Not even a lockup.
And great awareness from Seeker. Sometimes these moves, it's a 2 to tango kind of scenario to avoid chaos. And when you're in that position where someone's got all the possession on you, their car has almost no overlap on you on the inside. Sometimes the best thing is to just get out of it, preserve your car, preserve your tyre, and see if you can try and get them back later anyway.
So it is actually Pluck who leads the championship coming into this round, 40 points. The margin, Northway currently 2nd. And that's the order as it stands on the road as well, with Pluck in the lead by 4.5 seconds. He's gapped Northway on that last lap though. Northway brought the margin down 5 tenths. So 126 flat from Pluck and a 127.0. So he lost a bit of time on that last lap, Northway did, just battling there with Seeker. But Seeker himself does a 128.2, so he's already managed to establish a bit of a second margin over Seeker there in third.
A little bit further down the field there, John Baggs, bit of a mark beside his name, but it's the person behind him who's slowly moving up the field. Kyle Madden coming back, he's still quite far from the leader, 24 seconds behind the leader, but let's see what he does over the next 10 laps. Lap 12 of 23 here at Fuji Speedway for the LPL Let's Play Live Star Insurance Project Cars Championship. Here we go, Kyle Maddy, the Australian. Really unfortunate turn of events for him.
Well, he's taking those lemons and turning them into lemonade. He's doing a great job just to recover this one. It's all about points. It's all about the lure, the carrot of a top 5. And he's doing everything he needs to at the moment. I'm wondering whether he's the one car who could potentially throw a dice on strategy. I don't think Matt Smith, I don't think that group of cars really has the pace to try to overcome, you know, the leaders if they continue on as they are. Someone like Madsy, though, I mean, he's one of the quickest cars on track. We saw that in qualifying. We've seen that so far in his recovery.
Yeah, I don't know. I think for Madden at the moment, that lemonade's still a bit bitter and it needs a bit more sugar at the moment, because unfortunately he's down in 8th, and that's not enough to get a big haul of points at the moment. He'll be wanting to know whether or not John Baggs has got a big penalty next to his name. You can see that red marker there in 7th. He did last time do a 125.9 Madden. He's going to come across the line in a moment now. We'll see what lap time he did this time by. What does he do? Kyle Madden, a 126 flat basically. So still the class of the field realistically. He is setting times on equal pace with the leaders. John Baggs did a 127 that last time, so it was a second quicker. 10 laps to go on this race. There's still plenty of time to make up some margin, but we don't have safety cars to play with. We don't have that luxury. Well, Madden doesn't have that luxury, so he won't be able to catch the leaders, unfortunately, because he is 23 seconds adrift of this man here, Matthew Pluck. We are going to go on board here for a lap, just get some pure Formula Renault flat plane crank V8 noise in your earbuds. Giving Northway a bit of credit before for being so quick, but that margin has stepped out to 5 seconds between him and Pluck. Pluck, your championship leader at the moment, leading this race, looking to get 200 points. To his credit, we now switch to SY Crimson, who's looking to catch Prenz. I still wonder whether Prenz will have a bit of a price to pay after this race, after all that drama down at Turn 1. Kyle Madden will certainly be asking for a penalty or some sort of investigation after that absolute dive bomb down at Turn 1. Boys, what do you reckon? Is that pretty black and white? Do you just give him a penalty for that?
Oh, don't point at me, Brendan. Everyone knows what you're doing off camera. I think, yes. Yeah, I mean, you can't do that. And the shame for Prenz is that he had a great race car today. I mean, he was fighting with John Baggs on screen just a few laps ago. He's gapped him. He's driven away. He's off onto the next challenge. He's gotten around Crimson as well. So, I mean, the guy, he'll be kicking himself more than anyone else on the grid for making that mistake. And it was a mistake. You know, to come from 4 car lengths back and T-bone P1, not your proudest moment.
Just missed his braking mark, do you think?
Oh, just, yeah, he probably saw a fan in the crowd, gave him a wave. Next thing you know,
see you later. Good night, nurse.
Do you know how harsh are the penalties in the game versus what the actual judicials can do over in production?
Well, we already know that there's no penalty next to his name because his marker is still blue at the moment. So I imagine if there's going to be any penalty applied, it'll be post-race.
So in terms of actually taking someone out, I'm not really sure whether that counts. But we can see now Madsy gets a free position there because John Baggs just looped it all on his own down at turn 1. Says see you later and puts his eyes firmly on Crimson up ahead.
Definitely the comeback kid of this race. 26 seconds behind the leader, 127 last one, 131 for Crimson. So it could be logical that he gets Crimson, but further up the field, it's probably...
Do you reckon he'll bowl on an arm at Prinz? Maybe take him out?
Oh, he's got some sandpaper in his pocket. We shouldn't really go in Australian, should we?
Steve Smith could be watching this right now, and you wouldn't even know.
Shout out to Steve Smith.
Well, I mean, if he gets Crimson, that's one pass. If we look at what Prinz did and we think, you know, potentially there's a penalty there, that's potentially 2 positions at the end of it. So at the end of the day, it's been a productive 22 laps from him, assuming he keeps it straight for the remainder. It's just the first half of lap 1.
It's bittersweet though, eh? Because he was on pole position. He would have been thinking that one was in the bag, you know, did an absolute belter of a lap. Just got ahead of Plaque for pole position, and now he's been shunted down at turn 1 and he's going to lose it.
You got to remember he had a dropout also in the sprint race last championship as well, so that is all of what could be $6,000 down the tube for a championship, but he's fighting back, 16 of 23.
This gap's closing. I think another lap and he's going to be right on Crimson if he's not past him already. And if John Baggs is keeping tabs here, there might be something. There might be some crumbs for him here as well.
Yeah, Crimson that last lap only did a 128.4, whereas Madden did a 127. We see another lock up there from Crimson. Opens up the door for Madden to look down the inside. Shuts the door on him pretty quickly though. We've already seen a move around the outside in this race. Can he do it again? Crimson super narrow on entry. Oh, and he's got the position done already into the chicane.
So Crimson was making all the right moves there. You see coming out of that corner, you need to sort of link the two together and sort of flow and caress the car, but he just sort of straight lined it to try and that's great, but it obviously costs you speed when it comes to, you know, the actual crunch, and Madsy had the pace. He used all of the road on the run to that corner. Easy.
3.5 seconds between Madden and Prinz now. Can he do it? Can he catch him? Is he fast enough? Prinz on that last lap did a 126.3. Madden, I imagine it won't be a comparable lap time because he's had to battle with Crimson for a bit.
It was the fastest 125, wasn't it?
Yeah, high 25.
So there's eight laps to go, 125 versus do the maths.
Yeah, but 4 laps.
My calculator's all out of eggs, Brendan. I can't do anything.
6 laps.
I reckon you have him on the last lap. See what happens, eh? But it is Plaque still leading the way by 5 seconds over Northway, so no real battles brewing at the moment.
This is kind of the tipping point of the race in terms of you get to see who's looked after their tyre and who absolutely hasn't. And credit to Madsy, he's made probably more passes than anyone else on track, and he's still mowing them down. He's still pumping out great times. Plaque, he's been all by himself at the front. In theory, his tyres should be good. He's had every opportunity to preserve them. But what about second through to about 5th?
Well, Northway's dropped back now. You know, he was quicker than Plaque on that last lap, but he is still 6 seconds behind. So you just wonder again, maybe Northway's taking that same tact of just trying to get as many points as he can while he can in this position. He's got a massive margin over Seeker now, so doesn't really have to worry too much about that. Prinz that last lap did a 126.1, Madden a 126.8.
That might be the tipping point then for Madden. I don't think he had any traffic to deal with that time by.
Yeah, Prinz just crossed the line then as well, did a 125.9. Madden did a 125.7. So only 2/10 on that lap, not sort of the second margins that we had previously. The margin between those two is around 5 or 6 seconds now. We can see Plaque actually lapping. I believe that's Info Agent now.
Great work by him to get out of the way. This can be quite a difficult circuit to do that and to give the leaders, the lead lap runners, enough space. Credit where it's due there for not forcing Plaque to stumble.
Well, the guy's trying to close that gap. 18 seconds for Monkey Matt in between him and Seeker, but Preens and Kyle Madden, 21 and 26 seconds, but they're the ones cutting the fastest laps at the moment. 125s. Is Preens going to be able to be caught? He's still 4 seconds ahead of Kyle Madden at the moment. That's a red dashes next to names on the left-hand side of your screen there. On board with Matthew Puck, the current leader at the moment, 126. Lap 19 of 23 at Fuji. Now we touched on Kiwis racing, Simon. Touched on a couple of internationals. Any racing going on this weekend in New Zealand?
She's pretty quiet at the moment, obviously being winter.
Off season.
Yeah, endurance racing is sort of starting to kick back in with the South Island stuff, so we'll see that in a couple of months' time. 4-round series going to all the major circuits down the South Island, so really cool to have a championship do that, because not many of them do that these days. Obviously, we've got 8 circuits or so to play with, so it does make life difficult. So good to see a series getting to all the domestic circuits down the South Island.
Supercars is obviously the next big one.
The Bend.
Already starting. Supercars, yes, there, but also in New Zealand, the next big sort of motorsport event as such.
Yeah, moved that one forward this year, obviously to get out of the way of the Rugby World Cup in Japan, so that's cool for the organisers to do. Possibly an event change dates brewing there for that championship next year, unconfirmed, but has been reported on, obviously, that they might move that date to April next year, so back to an ANZ sort of affair, which I think would be really cool. I think last time we had that, there was some real cool sort of commemorations, you know, the Kiwi versus the Aussies. And it's especially good for New Zealand at the moment because the Kiwis are dominating.
They are, indeed. So Scott McLaughlin actually launched his book, and we touched on Hayden Paddon's launched a book as well. So Mad Mike will launch a book soon as well.
Man, that boy can talk. I reckon he's got a book in him, maybe 2.
Whole trilogy.
The old story, obviously, of Hayden Paddon not done yet as such, though. We see potentially maybe a return being whispered in M-Sport for WRC. He's made it very vocal. He'll do what it takes, right, to get back into WRC.
I think for someone like Paddon at the moment, it's just a matter of getting the funds together. We've sort of asked the question, what can people do to help? I saw the other day that he's launched a new partnership with Yes Power, where you can sign up to Yes Power and part of your power bill essentially goes directly to Hayden. So, you know, in terms of dynamic sponsorship agreements,
that for a dynamic sponsorship?
That's nuts. You know, you're unheard of in many ways. You know, so I think there's a lot of support for Paddon. Unfortunately, sidelined this year. Hyundai deciding that they no longer want him in the lineup.
Hyundai International, obviously, epic support from Hyundai.
Yeah,
New Zealand.
Hyundai New Zealand doing a great job at the moment. Fully keen to get him back in the WRC, regardless of which manufacturer. M-Sport, obviously, sort of, you know, only a limited deal with Ford, so not as perhaps involved as someone, say, like the Toyota Gazoo Racing or the Hyundai factory team. So I think for Hayden, that's his best opportunity to get back into the WRC. I don't know how likely it is. It's just a matter of getting the funding together, I think. Well, he just needs another chance.
If you guys want to support it, you're tuning in at home on Sky TV or Twitch, you can obviously just get onto Hayden Paddon's...
buy his book.
Or just go to YesPower.co.nz, I think it is, where you support him, or buy his book. Pretty rad, though, to see motorsport personalities in New Zealand. You're a big part of that. Obviously, you give them a lot of airtime, Matt, through Driven and the various things you do. How cool is it to see the likes of Paddon and Scott out there making books?
Well, it's great, and it's so interesting. Like we 10 years ago, Greg Murphy was the idol, probably for me and for you as well. And now we have effectively, you know, 3 or 4 drivers in the Supercars Championship who are knocking on the door of that level of success. And I don't think quite, you know, that we recognise the scale of that at this stage. But certainly Scott, I think, you know, he's going to arrive when it comes to all this international stuff and what he has planned. Bathurst this year, I think that's a big sort of turning point for him potentially if he can bring it home, and there's no reason why he can't.
Talking about Scott's, obviously, too, you can't discredit Scott Dixon and having his own movie made. You know, so Kiwis doing it large. Obviously, you follow Scott a lot, Simon, with the Kiwis internationally. So yeah, and also obviously Paddon looking at other things in New Zealand as well. He's got a few different cars he's bought. So hopefully we could see some different things happen more on a home circuit as well from these races. John Baggs, we're on 21 of 23 further down the field in position 8. It doesn't look like Kyle Madden's going to be able to extend that position of 6 over Preens, 127. He has done a 125, so he is 2 seconds faster, but it's a a big 4-second gap there, but it's all been about Matthew Pluck in this race. He's kept it consistent. He's kept 4 seconds ahead of Robert Northway, so points galore. But John Baggs now looking at the slipstream down the front straight. Is he going to do it under the brakes?
Dive. Massive dive. He's made the apex too. He's done it. Bit of contact mid-corner, but otherwise fine. You could tell he was sizing it up by that huge moment he had out of the last corner. Whole thing hooked sideways. He caught it. And now I think that's Simon Bishop coming up behind for the next position.
He's got him. Crimson makes a mistake there. Lets Bishop straight through. Who knows what penalties these boys have got though next to their name.
But this is what happens with these races. Your tyres turn to cheese and everything just falls apart around you. And that potentially is what's happening with Crimson at the moment as we cut to Prenz after his interesting race, shall we say.
Yeah, Madden, I'm not sure whether that's him directly behind Prenz there. Possibly a lap car, we'll wait and see. It is a 4 or 5 second gap between those two at the moment. Madden looking on, Prenz trying to get past Monkey Matt, but it is Matthew Pluck who is on the final lap here at Fuji Speedway. We'll hopefully get back to that battle at the very end of this lap. We'll give Matthew his dues though. Focus on him for the moment. He's had a 5 second margin as we see someone shunt in front of him. A fantastic result for Pluck. He's been the class of the field tonight in this feature race, the one that really counts when you get those 200 points to your name, which will really help his championship challenge. Currently leading the series at the moment. We see Prenz now is hustling to get past Monkey Matt. Makes a little bit of a mistake there. Monkey Matt able to get a few carlings on him. Madden nowhere to be seen at this point in time, but here he is, Matthew Pluck. He's going to come round the final corner and go down that really long straight and bring it on home for another one in the championship. Northway will come home second, 6 seconds adrift though, but it is Matthew Pluck who comes home P1 here at Fuji Speedway. Fantastic result for him. After all the drama on lap 1, he comes out on top and gets 200 points to his credit. Northway will come home second, a distant second at that. There's a big spin and a flip on the finish line. Goes over the gantry, gets a big hit as well. Seeker comes home third. We looked behind. Is there more drama to come? Madsy. It looks like Madsy's got ahead of Prenz. So Madsy gets P5, so maybe there was some drama we missed there. Prenz has dropped all the way back down to P6, and he's a long way behind, so a bit more chaos behind. Bishop, Baggs, and Crimson through 7th through to 9th, but Prenz there, I wonder what happened. He did a 1:34.9 that last lap, so these boys
just loving it.
They call it a sim, but I'm not sure that happens in real life. Bit wild there in the Formula 3.
They've been trying to do this round after round after round, and obviously the open wheeler allows them to just get it over and
Send
tip it in.
Wow,
Matthew Pluck. It's all about him. Don't forget to get on Driven, enter the code, enter your name, and you can win a drive for you and one other in the Lamborghini Huracan. The feature race here from Fuji was all about this man, the Christchurch local. There we go, ladies and gentlemen, official results. We will check out the tournament ladder very shortly. Matthew Bull Pluck and Robert Murphy's Law Northway. Good, I guess, strategic move there from Robert Northway to just pick up those championship points.
Absolutely. I mean, he survived lap 1, and he survived a poor qualifying performance in that first race. So he needed that result. He needed a couple of podiums to clean it up today, and he'll be quietly happy with himself, even if he didn't stand atop the podium.
All right, so from that, Simon has just lost the plot here in the studio. Seeker in third position, Monkey Matt. Kyle Madden, the Australian, bit of a comeback kid on that one. He got taken out on the start. It was definitely his race. It was unfortunate he didn't get further up. Simon, just calm yourself down. Prince coming in sixth position.
Woosa.
There's your man, Simon. Would you like to take it away from now?
Yeah, I think he's done all right. Simon Bishop there in P7. John Baggs, S-Wave comes in, and Alistair Kuipers rounds out the top 10. A few penalties there, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and 3 seconds you can see there on the right-hand side. Brendan. EVP comes home 11th. Daniel Pinkham has a 4-second penalty to his name, and he comes home 12th. Info Agent in P13. Wow, what a race. I reckon at the start there, that was where all the drama was. Kyle Madden just couldn't quite stay out of it, but well done on him to get back into the top 5 at the end there.
Indeed, Matt. You know, first feature race that you've been to in the studio. First time we've had open wheelers. Any thoughts on the feature race?
Well, second one in a row, and we didn't see what was coming, and it happened. It was great. I mean, we had that huge shunt, and I think the race of the best one in there. I mean, Pluck obviously had a dominant performance, made 0 mistakes, perfect, but great recovery from Madsy to come fourth after all of that, couple of hits. You know, that's a champion drive.
Yeah, you've really got to give it to the Australian. Well, we'll find out where the championship points stack up right after the race. Will it be an Australian on top, or will it still be the Kiwi? Stay tuned. We'll check that out. We'll be back with you in a minute.
Like us, you're passionate about cars. At Star Insurance Specialist, we create custom policies for Kiwis with exceptional vehicles. If you own a vintage, classic, performance, project or prestige car, your needs don't fit neatly into a box. We think special and unique cars deserve special and unique insurance. We don't let robots determine policy or price. Get on the road with a custom policy from Star Insurance Specialists. Go to starinsure.co.nz today.
War is upon us.
They might have found another kill. Carly out of position.
And there will be no dialogue.
He's just beyond godlike. The words speak for themselves.
Show no mercy.
It's gonna be a wash as everyone is either dead or retreating.
And be relentless. Enlist for war.
Test your limit. Drive with the fastest.
Through into the inside. Has he got it, McQueen? Will he block?
Take control.
And he gets it. Job done. Can he hold on to it?
Redefine speed.
It's a drag race to the finish.
Who's it going to be?
Fantastic racing. Look, he is pumped. He is absolutely stoked.
Be the fastest.
The hunt begins. Scanning the area.
Champion double kill.
Zipline deployed. Sorry you died.
This is where it ends.
G'day, I'm Sam, and here at driven.co.nz, we've got a nifty toolbox to help make buying and selling a car easier. Selling, but not sure what price to put on it? Our car value calculator will give you a really good starting point. If you're buying a new car, our cost to run tool will give you a rough estimate of what the car will cost you each year to run. We can also tell you the best time to sell so you get the sweetest possible return. Check out the toolbox at driven.co.nz.
This is just clinical.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We're live from SkyCITY, Sky Tower. Hola, that's right. LPL AU, LPL NZ. Just download the app. $20 on ride. All for you guys. You can ride for free. And around Auckland City, that is the way to go. Or anywhere in Australia and New Zealand. If you've just tuned in, we've just done our two sprint races and our feature race for the Project Cars Star Insurance, brought to you by Star Insurance Specialists. We're joined in studio by none other than Matthew Hansen from Driven. And Simon Chapman from Velocity. But that's not important. Matt, all about you. What did you think of your first time at Project Cars?
Not all about me. I mean, there's some great racing. We saw some great drives, some great recoveries. You know, and open wheelers. Let's do more of that stuff. That was great.
That was great. And the comeback kid, Kyle Madden. I really got to give it. It's probably him. But look, Japan. There we go. This is our round results, round 1, 2, and 3. So this is where we get to see who's leading the championship, who's going to get closer to that $6,000 of prize money split between the field, Simon.
So a great result here for Matthew Pluck tonight. Gets 2 race wins, race 2 and race 3, and a podium in race 1. Gets 382 points to his name. Robert Northway, though, he will be disappointed because the championship margin will blow out to 82 points, I think, after that one, with a 5th, a 2nd, and a 2nd. Seeker picks up 3rd for the round. Kyle Madden, he'll be disappointed after that win in race 1, not able to back that up in race 3 there after he got absolutely sent on several times in that last race at Fuji Speedway. The one where it mattered the most, we get the most points as well. Simon Bishop, Mr. Consistent, 687, gets him 232 points to his name. So, top 5. Not too much to complain about, but it's not going to get you the championship that you want.
Definitely not. Monkey Matt sitting 6th. Prenz had a pretty good race there. He is sort of making a name for himself in this championship. John Baggs as well had some rubbing. A few DNFs further down the field there. The Australian Damien Main won't be happy with that DNF and further down the field as well. But here it is, the championship tournament ladder. Who is leading it? Well, it is the Christchurch man, Matthew Bullpluck, with 1,104 points.
Murphy's Law, Robert Northway is on 1,022 points, 82 points to Drift, as we said. Seeker, big deficit though, 196 to him. He's got 908 points to his name. Kyle Madden sits down in 4th on 836 points. Just behind him is Simon Bishop. Monkey Matt, Prenz and John Baggs are your men who are currently sitting inside the top 8 and get that automatic qualifier for the final. Guys like Dave Stone and EVP and Damien Main, the other Aussie, he'll be looking to make up some more ground in the next few rounds.
All right, well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Well, there's 7 rounds in this championship, the Bathurst one. So you've got to be within that top 8 to make the Bathurst final here in the LPL studios. Interesting racing tonight. The sprint races were good, but lots of good battles in the feature race tonight. Next week, of course, we go to Dubai. Dubai Autodrome, is it, Simon?
Yeah, that's where we saw all the carnage late last season. We thought it was going to be a bit of a fizzer, but it was a barn burner. That one was crazy with the amount of carnage that we had there late in the race. 1 track, 2 layouts, 1 car, Aston Martin Vantage GT4. We sort of...
go to the big car again next week.
Yeah, we sort of gave the Ginetta a bad name, but that GT4 spec car was pretty good. So I think we'll see some good racing with this Aston Martin next week.
All right, and Matthew Hansen, thank you so much for joining us. You guys, you're a book of knowledge, dude. Your racing, etiquette is amazing. You guys get on, you vibe with each other. So hopefully we can join you again. If people want to find out more about Driven or yourself, where do they go?
Driven.co.nz, #1 place, but also Instagram, driven.nz as well. We're growing that feed. Some hackers, unfortunately, took all of our
Got to take down the algorithms.
Absolutely.
All right, and there's lots of good stories in there. You can read all about his car story. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us out of the LPL studio. 16 races from Australia and New Zealand. We'll do battle again next week. The same time, the same place. We'll see you there. Have fun on the weekend, but for now, stay safe on the roads. My name's Brendan White. That is Simon Chapman, Matthew Hansen. I was trying to show it to him. He didn't do it. Bye for now.
This LPL Pro presentation is proudly brought to you by Star Insurance.